Hello, my yogi loves. Make sure you have a block today. And let's go ahead and get started in a Savasana. Not our typical starting, but I want to give you the opportunity to land here and now. And just like in our typical Savasana, I invite you to let anything that's happened before this moment die away. Allow what happened even 10 seconds ago to become ancient history. Coming into big, deep, full breath. Really let your belly rise up and your ribs expand out. And then as you exhale, let everything squeeze in towards your center line, belly button down. In today's practice, I really want you to focus on being present. We all know that when we live in the past, we're living with regret, and when we live in the future, we're living with worry. So our access to joy is truly based on our access to staying present. And when it's difficult to stay present, consider coming into the 5 senses. Noticing any smell. Perhaps you close your eyes and you recognize the darkness behind your eyes. Become aware of what you're hearing, allowing it to become part of your practice. Notice the touch of air. And then finally notice if there's any residual taste in your mouth. Your only job is to be here now. On your next exhale out, go ahead and do a big full exhale, mouth open. And then zip up your lips and come into your Ujjayi breath. We're going to create internal heat here, tapas, but we're going to do it by not moving excessively fast, but by intentionally breathing. So your Ujjayi breath is like an internal space heater. And if you ever need to cool off, that's when you open your mouth, exhale that way. Begin to bring your knees into your chest. Just moving slowly. If you'd like to grab onto your shins, you can do so. Let your head stay heavy. And then take some knee circles if that serves you, going one way and another. We're just warming up the hips. We have plenty of time here. Coming to closure with this little practice. Bending both knees in. We tend to kind of rush through this pose here. So really you're just pulling your knees towards your center line. This is also called wind relieving pose, as you can imagine why. Bring your feet flat to the ground. Knees are pointing up to the ceiling. Inhale, bring your right leg in for half happy baby. So the goal here is to keep your left glute secure on the ground. And then play with the rotation of your knee so that it affects your hip socket. So as you kind of rotate your knee further away from your body and then hug it back in, you're getting a little bit of rotation in your hip. Always welcome to straighten the leg here. Just don't do anything too forceful, right? We don't want to overdo it. It's very early in our practice. And this is our attempt to get warm, not to give our biggest best. And release. Left leg will come up. Same thing, other side. Letting your breath here manage the rotation of your hip. So potentially as you exhale, you pull your knee closer to your rib cage. And then inhale, maybe move the knee further from the rib cage. If you straightened on the other side, straighten on this side. Again, not working for perfection, but balance. One more breath. And bring your foot back down to the ground. With a couple of breaths here, I want you to begin squeezing your lower belly up and in, which will by default curl the hips. And then lift up your knees. So you're still curling down, and take your hands to your thighs and create tension. You're going to press your knees away with your hands, all while pulling your knees in. Lower belly is still pulling up and in, which is flattening the low back. Inhale, extend right arm and leg long. You're still pressing with your left. Inhale back in. Moving towards the other side. Inhale, extend left arm and leg. Right side is still pressing towards the center. You're taking a round of breath here and then coming in. Right side. And back. Left side. And back. Keep pulling your lower belly up and in. Right side. Back to the center. Left side. You're keeping activity in the right side even though the left is lengthening. Back to center. Right side. Squeeze, squeeze your lower belly in. Back to center. Left side. Back to center. Squeeze, and then drop. Drop your knees into your chest. We're going to take whale tail. So you're going to cross your right knee over your left knee, pull your knees into your chest, grab your ankles. If this is not easily accessible, you cross your legs and you grab the shins, or you grab under the thigh. The long-term goal is to keep your head flat on the ground, shoulders relaxed. But if you have to lift up to grab and then you can settle, do that, right? The hips are getting a nice awakening today. All right, uncross, cross the other way, left leg over right, or the opposite if you did the other. Working to grab your ankles. And if this pose is semi-accessible for you in that you can easily grab your ankles, I want you to envision pushing both butt cheeks onto the ground. So both of your hip bones are forcing the ground away. So this is just lengthening the spine and getting a deeper stretch. In this case, if your left leg is on top, into that left glute. This is a really good stretch for people who sit a lot for work, all those Zoom meetings, truck driving, I don't know what you do. Uncross, extend out arms overhead. Big full body stretch. And then bring your knees in. Take 3 spinal rocks. Forward and backward, forward and backward. You're just going to rock right over your knees, coming to a tabletop position. Pause for a moment and then begin your cow-cat. Cow pose, you broaden the collarbones, lift the tailbone. And then in cat pose, you curl everything in and up. This is one of those poses that seems so simple, but it does so much. I can tell when I haven't done it for a couple of days because my back like creaks and pops, right? Like it's like, it's angry, but that's beautiful, right? Because we're moving that fascia and we're breaking up any stuck energy. And being stuck is the worst feeling ever. It's not ever true. It's just a feeling. Coming to completion with your cow-cat. Maybe you take some barrel rolls with the rib cage. So you're going to circle one side with your ribs. Maybe you do that twice and then circle the other way. So this is the same thing, right? We're just moving the body in a way that you might not typically move it to help remove any stuck energy. And then as you're ready, tuck your toes, lift your tailbone, downward facing dog. Pedaling out your feet. Moving with intention, right? So many times we just kind of like wiggle around, like, I don't want to hold it, so I'm going to wiggle. Like, no, roll through your feet. Feel the bones on your toes separate. Become aware of your armpits, right? You want to kind of tuck them up and in. So that way your shoulders can broaden out. Inner elbows spiraling outward. Ujjayi breath. Internal tapas. Right leg up. Bend your knees, stack your hip for a scorpion tail. Flex your feet. Pull your toes apart. Be here now. Take some knee circles if that feels good to you. And then straighten your leg so your hip is open. And then flatten your hip for your 3-legged dog. So coming into a place of inquiry in the body, stepping through low lunge. I like to use blocks here. Press your left hip forward. I'm keeping my back toes tucked because I really need some psoas work. Make your way up a little higher if you can, maybe onto your knee. If it feels good to you, maybe you inhale your arms overhead. And then coming down for a half split. So you'll straighten your front leg, hinge your hips over the back leg. Same thing here, I really love blocks under my hands. And work your spine, right? Inhale, taking a cow pose. Exhale, cat over that top leg. I guess it's a front leg, not a top leg. Moving through your low lunge. So you're just gonna shift into your right bent knee, hands come to the ground, pick up your back leg. Walking to the center, wide leg forward fold. Your hands are walking, your feet are not. Take a halfway lift before you bow forward. Maybe you take small micro bends in the knee to kind of stretch the inner thigh more. Maybe you take a bigger bend. Stay in your ujjayi, warming from the inside out. Crawl to the top of your mat, coming back to your low lunge. Step your foot back, downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg up. Bend your knees, stack your hips. Pause. And then maybe take some knee circles again. And these are always just suggestions, right? Like it's your practice. Coming back to stillness, straighten your leg with your hip open and then flatten it for three-legged dog. Stepping through for low lunge. Drop your back leg. I'm grabbing my blocks. Same thing as before. Maybe you start with your hands on the blocks, take a little cow back, and then work your hands up to your right knee. That would be your left knee, my bad. And then inhale, arms up, if that feels good. And then coming to your half Hanumasana, half split, straighten your left leg. Again, I prefer hands to blocks for me. Letting your breath help you lengthen over your front leg. Coming through your bent front knee again to pop up for wide-legged forward fold. And your long-term goal here, right, is to line up the fingers with toes, or maybe even get your fingers further behind. If you'd like to take some small bends, just like you did on the other side. Coming into deep opening here. One more breath. Walk your hands back to the top of your mat for a low lunge. And step back, downward facing dog. Nice. Take a big inhale, step your feet to your hands, halfway lift, exhale, forward fold. You can take a ragdoll here, grab opposite elbows. It's the first forward fold of practice, so kind of negotiate with your spine, rocking forward and backward on your feet. Getting an opening wherever your body needs it. My hammies always tend to be pretty ready to roll, but my upper back, ooh. All right, chin to chest, roll all the way up to Tadasana. Bring your arms overhead. Hands to heart center. Take a breath here. Pay attention to your toes. All four corners of the feet on the earth as you inhale, reach up. And then exhale, take your right foot behind your left, so you're crossing your legs. And then you're going to inhale and reach up and over to the right. So it's just a variation of a side body stretch. Come back to center, other side. You'll take your left behind your right. Inhale, reach up and over towards the left. I'm going one step further and grabbing my right wrist with my left hand to help create more tension in the stretch. Back up to center. Untwist your legs. Inhale, lift up, look up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Place your hands on the ground. Pause, try to get your knees into your armpits. And then step back, high push-up. Pause. Lower down, elbows close to the body all the way. Cobra pose. Pause. And then downward facing dog. Inhale, look between your fingertips. Exhale, travel feet to hands. Halfway lift, forward fold. Rise all the way up. Forward fold, back down. Halfway lift, place your hands on the ground. Try again, knees into armpits, stepping back, high push-up. Lower down slowly, belly to the ground, lifting up for cobra. And then tuck your toes, downward facing dog. Opportunity here for a couple of deep breaths. Inhale, feet to hands. Halfway lift, forward fold. Rise all the way up to standing, arms come overhead. Inhale, lift your left knee up, standing leg raise. Just balancing here. And bring it behind you now. Stepping on the floor. And we'll take a side body stretch, pulling your body to the right side. So just like we did earlier, only you added a standing leg raise. Come back up to standing leg raise. And then airplane pose, or warrior 3. Back toes are facing the ground. Chest level with hips. Land gently, crescent lunge. So your right leg is forward, left leg is back. I'm taking a more narrow stance so I can lift my left heel over my left toes. This is your pose. This is what we're doing. Open, warrior 2. Take the time here, negotiate with your body. One more breath, come to star pose. Toes come to the outer edges of the mat, arms come up. Take a small back bend here. And then come back through, hands to your hips, wide-legged forward fold. Taking any variation you prefer. Making your way to Skandasana or ninja pose at the back of your mat. So your left knee will bend, right toes will face up towards the sky, straight leg. Let your hands stay on the floor here or under a block. And then making your way to warrior 2, top of the mat, so front knee bends. One more breath. Reverse your warrior, reach up and back. Cartwheel your arms, stopping in your low lunge. And then stepping back, high push-up, low push-up, upward facing dog or cobra. Downward facing dog. Inhale, feet to hands. Halfway lift, forward fold. Roll all the way up to standing. Arms come overhead. Right knee lifts up for single leg raise. Pause here. And then cross the right leg behind the left and lean to the left. Come back up to center, uncross, and then lifting, standing leg raise, working into your warrior 3 or airplane pose. Keep your hips flat. So your flying leg, you want that hip level with your standing hip. Land crescent lunge. Same thing, I'm taking a narrow crescent here because I'm working on stacking my heel over my toes, and my psoas is just really extra tight. So just the act of lifting for me creates enough stretch. But you do you. Open up, warrior 2. Stay in your breath and then inhale to star pose. Take a back bend here. Back to star, wide-legged forward fold. Stay in your breath, Skandasana to the back of your mat. Right knee bends, left toes and knee face the ceiling. Hands can stay on the floor or a block. Shifting into your left bent knee to open to warrior 2. Stay for a breath, and then reverse your warrior. Letting your side body on both sides lengthen. Cartwheel your arms over, stopping in a low lunge before you step back to high push-up, low push-up, upward facing dog or cobra, and then make your way downward facing dog. Good work. Go ahead and exhale out the mouth and then come right back into Ujjayi. Make your way to the top of the mat, halfway lift, and fold. Inhale, rise up. Left knee lifts, single leg raise. Exhale, step it behind you. Take a side body stretch, left side of the body. Inhale back to center, lift your leg up. Warrior 3, airplane pose. Land crescent lunge. Open warrior 2. Star pose. Back bend. Forward fold, wide-legged. Skandasana, back of the mat. Back to warrior 2. Reverse warrior. Cartwheel your arms, stopping in your low lunge. High push-up, low push-up, upward facing, downward facing. Same thing other side, right? Inhale, look between the hands. Exhale, travel there, feet between hands. Halfway lift, forward fold. Inhale, rise up, single leg raise, right knee travels. Exhale, step it behind you. Right side body stretch. Back to center, right knee up. Airplane pose. Land crescent lunge. Warrior 2. Star pose. Small back bend, wide-legged forward fold. Pause here, and then settle Skandasana, back of the mat. Making your way back to Warrior 2. Reverse your warrior. Cartwheel your arms, pausing in your low lunge. High push-up, low push-up, upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Take some cleansing breaths here. Maybe open the mouth, exhale, release. And then begin to zip it all back up. Ujjayi returns. Take a couple of deep breaths here. Just staying. Working your tailbone up. Spiraling your inner elbows out. Right leg up, step through, Warrior 2. Focus over the front middle fingers. Inhale, bring your arms behind your head. Exhale, tilt, right elbow, right knee. And then hinge back towards the left. And again, tilt, elbow towards knee. And back. One more time, tilt. And reverse. Lift your arm straight. Extended side angle. Right, so the original part, keeping the elbows bent, just really gets the core activated. So many times we just kind of do things and our arms lead the way. So we really want to spiral the lower ribs forward. A low lunge. Take your blocks with you because you're going to travel to an L pose, which is essentially the pose between standing split and Warrior 3. You're just going to lunge forward, balancing on your right, left leg flying. Hands are on the blocks. Hips are square. And then maybe you bring one hand to wrap around your standing ankle. More important here to have the hips square and the head folded than to lose integrity with the hips and lift the leg higher. Stay here, you got it. Okay, coming down to forward fold. Inhale, rise up. Left leg lifts, standing leg raise. Cross your left ankle over your right knee and come into a chair pose with figure 4 legs. And stay with it if you can. If not, shake everything out. We just come back to center. And forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Bring your knees to your armpits and then step back to downward facing dog. A breath here, same thing other side coming our way. All right, left side coming soon. Take a big inhale. Exhale. Inhale, left leg up. Exhale, step through, warrior two. Shoulder blades squeeze together, chest squares in front of you, drishti over your front middle finger. Inhale, bring the arms bent so the hands come to the bottom of the neck. Take a crunch. And then lifting up and back. Tilting back, left elbow to left thigh or knee. Coming back up, tilting to the back. One more time, crunching down. And then reverse your warrior. Extend your arms this time. And then opposite way, extended side angle. Same thing as before, rotating the lower rib cage up. So like I said, sometimes we kind of crane with our shoulders, and we really want the focus to be on the rib cage. So play with that here. You've got one more breath. And then coming down through your low lunge, getting your blocks ready so you can launch into your assisted L pose. And if you have standing split and you can just easily rock that out and you feel warm enough, feel free to go there, but the focus must be on the hips being flat. So it truly is a standing split, right? Like we spend a lot of time in Hanumasana working on keeping the back toes tucked to keep the integrity of the hips. I think a lot of us learned like cheating splits as kids, and so we've just got to retrain ourselves. Chair pose, and then, forward fold, and then rise up. Inhale, bring the right leg up, cross your right ankle over your left knee. Now take your chair pose. I was about to make it too hard on you, chair pose and then lift up. That would just not be nice of me. Stay in. Maybe I'll do that next time. You've got this. And forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Hands to the floor, knees to armpits. Step back, downward facing dog. Beautiful. One more breath. Right leg lifts up. Step through, warrior two. Triangle pose. Straighten your front leg, tilt over the front leg. I feel like 99% of the population needs a block under their hand, especially on the first round. Lower ribs spiraling up. Shoulder blades come together. If you can, tilt the chin to the top hand. Don't force that though. We're going to take a long pyramid. So all you're going to do is rotate the feet to both face forward, but keep them really long. Blocks under the hands are essential here. I'm going to move my blocks so you can see. I want you to hinge forward and back. And as you come with straight legs, I want you to bring your weight onto your heel. So your right toes are lifting up. And just kind of seesaw back and forth from your standing pyramid to a little bit of a lunge here. And then coming into your long pyramid, heel down, toes up, fold over your front leg. This can be a bit more of like an awkward variation of your pyramid, but just try it on. And then drop your left knee to the ground for a low crescent lunge. Remove your blocks if you have them. Bring your hands to the ground, high push-up. Pause in your high push-up. Lower belly up and in, downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg up. Step through, warrior two. Triangle pose, Trikonasana. And you'll notice, right, one side has more mobility than the other. And so give a stretch that is due to that side. Lower ribs pulling away from the hips and then rotating up. Bringing your right hand back to the ground or a block, taking that wide-legged pyramid pose. And you'll come back into that kind of swaying between a small lunge and then your wide-legged pyramid pose. Working through the heel, pressing, flexing. And then finally bending over your wide-legged pyramid pose. You're not stuck in the pose, right? So if you kind of get into it and you're like, oh, something's not right, fix it. Right? You are not a tree. You are not planted here. Bending through into your low lunge, drop your back knee to the ground. Both hands come to the earth. Make your way to your high plank. Pausing in your high plank. Zipping your lower belly up and in, inner thighs igniting, pressing through your heels, downward facing dog. Stay for one more breath. Rolling back to high push-up. Lower all the way down, belly to the ground. Good work. Take a deep breath on your belly and then bend your right knee up for half frog pose. Letting there be a gentle opening. And then give yourself an opportunity for a challenge. Work to straighten your right leg. So your legs are now kind of at a 90-degree angle. And try that on. Maybe it doesn't feel good. Maybe it's terrible. Maybe you bend your knee back. Maybe you lower your leg, right? Like, have the conversation with your body. What is it capable of today? With each exhale, see if you can relax more. Take your arms to a goalpost. We're going to take fallen angel. So you'll just take your right leg up and over your left, if you can. If not, just stack them. Getting a deep opening in the left chest through the armpit. If you'd like a greater challenge, you just take your top arm and you bring it to your tailbone, or up and over if you're one of those lucky ducks and you just grab your hand behind you. And then you write me an essay on what it's like to be God's favorite. One more breath. Deep opening here. Be gentle with yourself. And gently unroll. Coming back to your belly, pausing at the center, and then inhaling, left knee up for half frog. So there's different schools of thought on half frog. One of them is that your inner thigh should be flat on the ground. One of them is just get your knee up. So you figure out what feels good to you. And then straighten that leg if that's what you did on the other side. And if you tried it on the other side and it didn't quite fit, still try it on this side. Allowing for dysymmetry in the body while still working towards equanimity. Making your way now to fallen angel on the other side. So you'll pick up your left leg, begin to rotate onto your right shoulder, goalpost the arm. That'll get really deep into the chest muscle and up through the armpit. And then same thing as before, right? Maybe you bring your top arm to your sacrum, maybe you clasp hands behind your back, or maybe not any of that. Truly is yogi's choice. There's such a fine balance between us knowing our bodies and respecting them, and then also us knowing our bodies and not pushing them. I feel like that's like the dance of life, right? When is it best to stay where we are, and when is it time to leave? Gently making your way back onto your belly. Let everything settle for a moment, and then come into child's pose. I want you to settle in here, allowing all of the activity of your practice to marinate. Right? Down here in Texas, we marinate our steaks for like a day at minimum. And it makes them supple and amazing. So allowing the movement, right, that you just did, the kneading of the meat of your muscles, allowing that to marinate, to soften. Gently make your way up onto a seat. Bring your legs out in front. Bend your knees deeply. Put your chest on your thighs. Tuck your chin to your chest and hold. I also just realized that my last reference sounded very Hannibal Lecter. So sorry about that. And then inhale, lift up, walk your legs out about halfway. Belly to thighs, fold forward. So it's a seated forward fold, getting progressively with straighter legs. Sorry if that was not clear originally. Inhale, rise up, straightening just a touch more, belly to thighs, fold. Exhaling, softening. Last thing to lift is your chin, roll up, knees bent, slowly roll through your spine, coming onto your back. Happy baby. So we started our practice with a half happy baby. And we're starting to seal it in with a full happy baby. What's that called? Like in a story where it's like a cycle, like it starts somewhere and then a lot of things happen and then it comes back there. That was today's practice. Really working on pressing your tailbone down. Spine flat. Skull on the earth. Little baby rocks side to side, pulling the knees closer to the ribs and further from the ribs. Deep breaths. Releasing your feet. Knees coming back in like you're hugging towards center, and then take those same knee circles that we did at the beginning of practice. So knees circle in 2 or 3 times, and then they circle out 2 or 3 times, or whichever direction. You know what I'm saying here. And then squeezing your knees back in towards the center line. Extend your left leg long, supine twist. Right knee crosses over the left hemisphere of the body. Take your right arm to a T or a goalpost. Twist your chin towards that right shoulder. Try it on for size, right? It might not fit. You might twist your chin and say, ooh, not today. So you just bring your head back to center. But we never know unless we try. Big exhale here, really settle. And then inhale both knees into the chest. Straighten your right leg, cross the left knee over the right hemisphere. Same thing as the other side, arms in a T or a goalpost. And then twist your chin to your left shoulder. And this is it, man. This is your twist. With the knee being higher, it can really be a low back opener. And so let that opening happen. Soften both shoulders onto the mat. Notice if you're holding tension in your jaw, in your hands, in your glutes. I invite you to let that go. Untwist both knees into your chest. Squeeze everything in. Pick up your chest. Curl your forehead towards your knees. And then like a butterfly coming out of a cocoon, expand out for Savasana. We started our practice this way, and now we end it. And yet again, I invite you to let everything that happened before this moment die. Reap the benefit of the work. But do not hold on to what could have been or might have been, and just marinate in your work. It's time to land in your body, gently waking up, returning here and now with micro movements. Maybe some ankle and wrist circles. Maybe you nod your head side to side. Don't rush this process. Right after we cook a steak, if we know better, we let it rest for a bit. This is you resting after being cooked. Make your way to a fetal position on either side. I'm going hard with the Hannibal now. I'm already in it. I'm just going to keep going. Big full inhale. Exhale up to seated. Sitting up tall and proud. Lower belly in, hands to heart center. Namaste. Thank you for sharing yoga with me today.